Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Toolbox Tuesday. I'm going to be keeping it moving with my discussion about the 7 words or ways of understanding love through the Greek philosophical perspective. So last week I spent some time talking about storge, I spent some time talking about agape, and I spent some time talking about ludus. This week, I'm going to wrap up the discussion for the 7 terms or names of love, and then also move into a discussion for maybe some of the ways that you can experience intimacy with each of these types of love, and a skill that you can use to ask for what it is that you want. I also do have a special question that will come to us, and I'm going to answer that and consult with that. So we have that to look forward to. So that's coming up. So first things first. Today, the 2 types of love that are remaining are pragma and philautia. So pragma is actually not that hard to explain. Easy peasy. If you think about a couple that is a power couple and only a power couple, and the only reason they are together is because when they are together, things seem to work out appropriately, that is pragma. Very pragmatic. When we are together, we can maintain. When we are together, we can build. When we are together, there is nothing that can really stop us. Our personalities complement each other, and we actually don't even care if we have sex or not. We actually don't care if we sleep in the same bed or not. We actually only care about what we can build together to maintain and care for ourselves and each other out of goodwill. That is a pragma relationship. And then the last kind, philautia, that type of love is self-love, and it's broken down into 2 parts. There is the healthy self-love, and then there's also the unhealthy self-love. The unhealthy self-love is inextricably linked with the problem or struggle of hubris, which is kind of exalting yourself above and beyond all other external forces. For the Greeks, this was above and beyond God, and for us, maybe here in the United States, where gods and spirits and spirituality is like kind of viewed very dynamically, hubris can be seen as really thinking you the shit in the presence of any single thing that could really get you like fucked up, right? So thinking you the shit in the face of a plane crash might be an example of some extreme hubris, or thinking that nothing can harm you in the face of any situation that you might encounter might be an example of hubris. And hubris was considered to be the nemesis of all of our personalities from a Greek perspective. However, from a healthy and functional perspective, philautia, or healthy self-love, also known as healthy narcissism, can also be seen as good self-esteem and good self-confidence. Also, understanding your value and advocating that people treat you according to such is healthy self-esteem, or a type of love called philautia. So one of the great things about having more than one name for love and more than one way to recognize your experience for love is you can really understand better what you are experiencing when you're with different people. Because let's face it, some people do it for us and some people don't. And having these names for love help us understand why. I like being with X person because when I am with them, I feel a never-ending cycle of goodwill. I never want that person to leave my life. Holy moly, that's a type of love. And how do you want to deepen that love with that person? Do you want to buy them a gift? Do you want to tell them, hey, I recognize the wonderful things that you bring into my life, and I want to find a way to celebrate that with you because you mean a lot to me. So what is something that we could do together that could celebrate like the way that we feel when we're with each other? Notice how that statement right there alone, asking someone how to celebrate a relationship, had no connotations of eroticism or sex or physical contact whatsoever. But it did invite a collaboration for how to deepen a relationship that was meaningful. It is important to understand the love that you have for the people that you are in relationships with. How can you experience a form of intimacy with someone that you are in a cycle of goodwill with, a cycle that continues to perpetuate itself? How can you experience intimacy with that person? Well, you can tell them the way that your relationship has healed some past experiences. How has someone's kindness for the sake of kindness, that's agape or altruism, how has kindness for the sake of kindness healed a perspective that you had towards an abusive humanity? You can experience intimacy with someone by revealing that, or by telling them, hey, the way that you treat me actually changes the way that I look at other people. That's an intimate moment. And you don't even have to touch. You could follow that up with a hug or a kiss. It is what it is. Just that I'd keep it real with you for a moment, you know? So now for the consultation question. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me, please.
Hi, my name is Mark. I was wondering, from a treatment perspective, what can one do to manage themselves when you are in a relationship with someone that is in recovery?
How can you manage yourself in a relationship with someone who is in recovery? Now, from a treatment perspective, there's so much advice to give. If you are in a treatment relationship with someone who is in recovery, you've got to make sure that your perspectives help keep them in line with their personal values for their recovery. So in the case of substances, if your treatment goal is abstinence, then you got to make sure that your goals are in line with that. You've got to make sure the values are in line with that. And you've got to make sure that you challenge the things that put those values in jeopardy, or that represent risks to putting those values in jeopardy. When it comes to recovery from depression, you've got to make sure that your treatment goals put them in line with the things that they're going to be doing at their best. So challenge them. What do you want to do to feel better instead of what do you want to do once you feel better? And reframing their relationship with their illness in a treatment setting like that. So now you can plan goals. What are you going to do to feel better? Well, if I was feeling great, I'd exercise. Fine, now you're going to exercise to feel better. If you are in a romantic relationship with someone who has an addiction and is in recovery from that, one of the most important things to do is to make sure that you know how to manage yourself and your life and your goals alongside of, but not necessarily being tainted by, the goals, the needs, or the kind of values or behaviors of your partner in a romantic setting. This is outside of like the treatment perspective. So right now I'm saying if you are treating someone and they're in a relationship with someone who has an addiction, you've got to make sure that your person is in line with their star player, so to speak. How are they managing their stress? How are they managing their triggers? How are they managing their relationship to substances? How are they managing their relationship to their chores in the house? How are they managing their relationship to family issues? How are they making sure that their stuff is in line? So, one, it's not an excuse. Two, that they are not at risk for being enablers. And three, they can be confident that they are carrying their load as a partner. That's an important thing to do. being clear about what emotional labor you're going to do versus what emotional labor they have to get from their sponsor, or what what support they have to get from their own therapist is an important thing that you've got to, encourage your patient to do, or something that you have to do if you are in a relationship with someone who is in recovery from substances. Wellness is absolutely the key, and so being intentional about the things that you do to feel good is also important. Being intentional about the ways that you seek joy and pleasure in this relationship and making it about you and about what you need is also super duper important. So do you think those kind of answers your questions?
Yes, actually.
Do you have any?
I think it's. I actually you just opened up a little aspect of when I was coming from a recovery aspect. I was really coming from a addiction as far as a perspective, but that kind of opened up the whole entire aspect of recovery from depression, which is completely something that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, so, and from that context, you can think about recovery from anxiety, recovery from trauma, recovery from a psychotic break-in, kind of talking about schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, recovery from a bad breakup, recovery from having a bad weekend with an abusive parent. Any of these things can still be triggering moving forward in life. So these things can trigger patterns that lead to addiction, but they also can trigger some other behaviors that are not good for other relationships. And being in recovery from these things are absolutely what it means to be in recovery. Like, shit, everybody in recovery from something, right?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So any other questions with that expanded context?
None. Yeah, no.
All right. Thank you so much for your question. If any of y'all want to check out more of my philosophy about healing from addiction or engaging in recovery on purpose, you can absolutely check out my website, www.holisticwellnessandrecovery.com. You can check out my YouTube, which there are like more Toolbox Tuesdays. You can also check out my Facebook website. You can definitely book a consultation. I will definitely see you and talk to you if I have time. It's what I do. Have a great week. Have a great weekend.